Hooray! Oh, yay. Namaste, welcome. Happy full moon. Oh my gosh. This full moon is so gorgeous. I don't know if it's just because the days are so much longer now, but just these past few nights I've been watching this like almost full moon rise in the sky, and it's been like absolutely glorious. So I'm really excited for this. And there's lots of really awesome energy that we're going to dive into and talk a little bit about today as well. So, first off, I just wanted to welcome you all, into this space, and those that are watching the recording, and those of you who maybe this is your first event with us in the Mystic Members Club, because I am opening up this space this week to everybody, to the public, because I really want you guys to kind of see what it's like in here and the events in the space that we have, so that if this is something that you feel called to join us on, you can feel really confident in that, and you kind of know the things that we do. So if this is your first time in this space, I'm really, really happy that you're here, and I hope that you enjoy this. We are going to do a little bit of exercises together. So some supplies I would suggest is a journal and a pen or a pencil. And then we're going to end with a releasing ceremony. So that can look like one of two things, either burning or ripping up pieces of paper. So if you have these supplies to burn safely, maybe grab your cauldron or a fireproof bowl and then a lighter. I'm using some Pyrex because all of my aesthetic witchy things are still in storage. So the Pyrex works too. So you can do it that way if you feel comfortable burning, or otherwise you can just rip things up. So go ahead and you can take your time and kind of get yourself situated with those things as we get started. Perfect. So, but as we kind of get settled into this space, I want to get us started with a quick grounding meditation. So whenever you kind of do get all of your goodies into place, we'll kind of come into a space where you can kind of just be still and arrive for a moment. Yeah, light that incense, girl. I see you. I finished setting up my altar today, which I'm so excited about. My puppy and I, we just got done walking down to the river, and I collected some river water. So now I have all four elements. So we just got back from that. So she's passed. So she's hardcore passed out on the bed now from the walk, and I get to be with you guys. So we're both kind of coming back to ourselves. So as you're ready, just come to a comfortable seat. Maybe allow yourself to close your eyes. Go ahead and sit up nice and tall. Lift up through the crown of your head, lift up through your chest. Sitting up with strength and valor. Relaxing your shoulders, relaxing your hips. Relaxing the muscles around your face, your jaw, the forehead, the eyes, the lips. And as you settle into your body, begin to settle into your breath. So maybe start to draw your inhales deeper down into the base of the belly. And then allow yourself to exhale, completely let it go. A deep inhale draws down into the belly. And then exhale, let it go. And take one more just like that. And start to maybe lean into that extra space we're creating around your breath. So allow the breath to be natural and fluid. Allow it to be soft and full. Maybe imagining that you're clearing away everything else from earlier today. Maybe any excess energy or thoughts that you're still carrying. Take a deep breath in and give them notice. And then as you exhale, give yourself permission to set them to the side. We're honoring this space and this circle, this time with each other, and we devote ourselves through our hearts and through our awareness to be here fully, both for ourselves and for each other. If you'd like, you can bring a hand up to your heart, place your palm against your chest, and just slightly bow the chin in towards your beautiful heart. And we open this circle with love and intention, creating a space where we can learn and connect and grow and dive deep into matters of the heart here together. So however, wherever you're showing up from today, I honor you and I thank you and I welcome you into this space. Let's take one more deep breath in through the nose and let it go. Softly release your hands. Maybe take a few wiggles. Take your time to gently open up your eyes. Beautiful. Hooray. I always feel like a little fish sometimes when I get into leading meditations. I just like sway side to side. Kristen, I notice you do the same thing a little bit too. It feels so good. It feels so natural. I know. Shakti. Yay. Okay, so we're going to dive right into the cerebral, the nitty-gritty. I'm going to talk a little bit about the energies of this full strawberry supermoon in Capricorn. Wow, that is a mouthful. We're going to talk a little bit about the lore behind it, the energies, both high and lower vibrational manifestations of this energy. And then we're going to end with our burn and release ceremony. So if at any point this is a smaller group, you're more than welcome to unmute yourself and chime in, or if you feel more comfortable, typing it out, there's a little chat area for that too. So first I'm just going to break down the name a little bit piece by piece. And maybe some of those watching the recording, maybe you're fairly new to lunar magic, and that's super awesome. I'm really excited for you. So we're going to kind of break it down a little bit. So a full moon is a moon that's totally illuminated by the sun, and energetically it's this time of fruition, celebration, and completion. And then it marks the beginning of the waning phase of the moon. So it also symbolizes this time of release as the moon starts to now darken after these next couple days. So it's a good time to sort of look at what's holding us back and letting go of that, right? So that we can move forward in a way that is more aligned with our most embodied self. I know that's a little flowery. Like, what the hell does that even look like? It's different for everybody, obviously, but your most embodied self is like yourself with the capital S, like yourself that feels the best, yourself that feels really vibrant and just like in the groove, kind of in the zone, the you that feels really, really good and really happy just being the way that they are, right? The goal, I think, for a lot of us, and especially in this space, is to become aligned and living out of that space as often as possible. It's obviously never going to be all the time, and that's really great. It's not supposed to be all the time, but trying to tap into that space as much as we can. So that's the full moon. What is a strawberry moon? It's unfortunately not going to look pink. That's kind of a myth that gets thrown around sometimes. That would be really, really awesome if it did, but it won't, unfortunately. Strawberry moon is a traditional folk name. You'll kind of hear The name changes every month, what the folk name is. And usually these come from indigenous tribes, and they symbolize what's happening with Mother Earth in this time of the year. Because before we had our Gregorian calendar, this is how we kept track of time. So strawberry moon is the time when fruit is ready and ripe, lots of strawberries. I know they're in New Orleans, the strawberries are really fruitful. I always loved, all the strawberry drinks that came around in the summertime. And so strawberries, but, just kind of fruit and Mother Earth in general, right? She's very luscious. She's very vibrant, very abundant and fruitful right now. So this is kind of a name that mimics that. I think it most specifically comes from the Algonquin, the Lakota, and the Dakota tribes, but kind of, all throughout the northern hemisphere, at least, Gaia is sort of just bursting with all of this life and energy. So it ties to that a lot. It's also a supermoon. So supermoons are a bit more subtle. They happen not often, but there's a few of them every year. And supermoons are just noticeably closer in proximity to the Earth, so they appear a little bit larger. There are multiple a year, and supermoons energetically just kind of mean that the energy of this full moon is amplified, is kind of boosted up a little bit, both for the seasonal energies, that strawberry moon, and for the zodiac energy, which is kind of what we're going to dive into mostly here today. And so that takes us into the last little bit of the name, which is the moon in Capricorn. So that just means that is the zodiac sign that the moon is in currently. It's in today. Is it today? Well, tomorrow's technically the full moon, so it might already be in Capricorn, or it might be just getting there, because the sign of the moon will kind of change every 2 and 3 days. It changes much more often than the sun, which we know changes every month or so, right? We just moved into Cancer season. That's the sun changing zodiac signs, but the moon changes a lot more frequently because she has a much shorter distance to travel, right? So we'll kind of dive into that mostly here, is that Capricorn energy, and also dive into a little bit of the mirror in Cancer with the sun in Cancer and what that looks like. So here we go. This part, I always just feel like a rocket ship. I just kind of keep going and going with my words. But so if you ever want me to stop, feel free. But what is the energy of Capricorn, right? This is kind of what we're going to talk about the most. Capricorn is our cardinal earth sign. So it's the energy of dedication, perseverance, strength, authority, and leadership. Capricorn is usually the sign that comes at not usually, it is the sign that comes at the very end of December and very beginning of January. So you get that new year, new me, kind of energy that's behind it. But this energy of fresh new beginnings and perseverance and ambition is kind of always there with Capricorn, right? It's not just one time of year. So this is a really great time, like you kind of mentioned, Kristen, for, new beginnings, right? Really honing in of what it is that you can turn over, what it is you can change, kind of shedding, letting go, and stepping forward. And also more specifically to Capricorn, really honing your skills of determination and ambition. Right. So it actually too makes sense for you, Carolyn. You were talking about how you just had that chat with Rachel today, about starting a new project with her and getting new feedback and support from her. That's very Capricorn energy with that too, so it's kind of this stepping into your leadership in a way.
And I'm a Capricorn rising.
Oh, yeah. Wait, Kristen is too? Wow. That's so funny.
I am too.
So that makes sense why you guys are both kind of very leaders in your space and in your group. I've read and I've heard, other people say a little bit differently. I'm not as well versed on specifically what each one of those signs mean, but that rising sign, as maybe would be guessed, that's the energy that you kind of elevate to throughout your life, right? That's kind of where you're meant to go, or you're supposed to step into. I'm a Leo rising, so very kind of similar energy, leadership and sort of almost ta-da energy, which I never felt at the beginning stages of my life. But now as I move on, I'm kind of okay, I'm about it. I'll wear bright colors and dance in the center of the circle. I'm about it. But that's so funny that you both are. That's so great. So I really like this analogy of Capricorn, of this goat sort of nimbly climbing up this treacherous mountain, totally fearless. And so that's sort of that Capricorn energy, right? Some of the steps might be scary to get us there, but and you trust in yourself to have the ability, to do so. And you kind of just persevere anyway. So with that, the challenge comes of Capricorn to really take the necessary and sometimes scary steps that will give you that life that fully supports your goals and your well-being, and being able to notice when the way that you're living doesn't really align with that, right? And having compassion, humility, and honesty with yourself in that regard. Right? So, what we're going to try to focus on tonight specifically is getting very clear and maybe even redefining your idea of success, and addressing both the shadows and the comfort zones, the unnecessary comfort zones that might be holding us back from that soul centered definition of success. So, we kind of mentioned, or I mentioned, those more embodied energies of Capricorn, which are ambition and dedication, perseverance, all the really great things. But I also wanted to talk about, I've never really done this before, but I do think it's important to notice the lower vibrational manifestations of Capricorn as well. So this can look like overwork, right? These warped views of success and happiness. And also, this one like hit me super hard, diligently staying in a situation that isn't right for us because of fear or false truths that we believe. I was like, ooh, damn. All right. You see me. I kind of talked about this a lot when Stephen and I first made our transition out of the van and into this more permanent space here in Eugene, because I was feeling that. I felt like I had to live 100% of the time in the van to be successful. And if I didn't, then people would think that I failed, right? But that's obviously a false truth, So kind of noticing if there are other situations like that for us where we might be staying because we're afraid, either afraid of failing or afraid of what other people will think. There's lots of things to be afraid of, but noticing situations like that and really letting those go, which isn't easy, but you got to start somewhere and kind of noticing it, right? So this is the time to notice if any of those vibrational patterns are coming up for you, and asking yourself, how we can let go of that, right? And so we're going to kind of do a little bit of that hands-on together here at the end with our journaling and our burning ritual. So I wanted to talk a little bit also too about this Sun and Cancer, right? Because it is very important. They mirror each other, right? And one of the beautiful aspects of any full moon is to find that balance between the two. Most of the time, the energies will be very different, because when a moon is full, right, it's on the opposite end of the sun in the spectrum. So they kind of will be usually pretty opposing in energies. And so kind of finding that middle ground is, I think, really, really fun and really interesting work around the full moon. So we look at how these two energies interact, which for today in this full moon is Capricorn and Cancer. Right? So Cancer is a water sign. So very intuitive, very emotional, receptive, nurturing, that like swaying back and forth while you're meditating kind of feel. Whereas Capricorn is a bit stoic, very action oriented, maybe even to the point of being a bit rigid, right? And kind of death gripping things because you want them to happen a certain way. So obviously, if you lean too far into either of these, then it's not really the best for anybody. So you kind of have to find the middle ground between these two. But what I wanted to talk about specifically was the crossover point between both of them, specifically on this lower vibrational scale. Because I think Capricorn and Cancer share this space where there is this energy of being afraid to step outside of your comfort zone. And they're both for very different reasons, whereas Cancer might be afraid to step out because it fears vulnerability, and Capricorn might be afraid to step out because it fears failure, right? So, but they kind of both have that that sort of chain that binds them to where they just stay in in comfortable and safe and familiar situations, right? And that is not where growth happens. That's not where inspiration happens or breakthrough happens. So we kind of need to give ourselves permission to step outside of those. And that's, coming back to looking at yourself with compassion and humility, right? And noticing where you might be hiding in these comfort zones, and where those comfort zones are not aligning, right, with your ambitions and with your deepest desires. Yeah. So I know it's been showing up a lot for me specifically. I feel these past few weeks. It's funny. I've been feeling the urge. I kind of I got a daytime job while I was here in Eugene for lots of different reasons, but the more that I look at it, I'm noticing that the reasons that I did was because I was afraid. I was afraid that, I wasn't going to have enough money to, I don't know, to sit on, I guess, And so looking at the reasons why we do the things that we do is a really sometimes eye-opening, sometimes scary thing to do. So looking at why we do the things that we do and noticing if we're just falling into these repetitive, we call them samskaras in yoga, right? These repetitive negative grooves that we fall into that keep us safe, right? Whereas I struggle a lot with the fear of lack, right? And of never having enough, of never being safe. So I tend to fall into these ruts where I just do things that don't really fulfill me the most because I think that they're going to keep me safe, right? So kind of noticing ways to step out of that. So I don't know. We'll see where I end up at the end of this full moon and if I decide what I want to do with my day job. But that's how it's manifesting for me. I don't know. We're going to, before we go into our journaling, if anyone feels called, is any of this kind of showing up for you guys at all this week? Yeah. Carolyn's nodding. Yeah? Oh, cool. Cool.
Yeah. It's so interesting that you said that about the day job, actually, because like I've been on the like leave with Trader Joe's for like this whole time. So like technically still employed with them. And it is actually today that I talked to someone there and was like, yeah, I'm just going to have to resign from the position and like formally like actually step away. And it was the same thing that was keeping me tied there was this fear of like, well, I'm going to have to go back if I'm going to be able to like make it. And yet like, I haven't been there this whole time and I've been like, not like destitute or anything, And so it's just interesting, like bringing that up. And like, when you said it, I was like, oh, I'm so glad I like did it. Cause I was like scared. I was like, just do it. Just do it. So yeah.
I'm glad that you did too. It is hard. And like, especially, all of us, we kind of are chasing these creative vocations of ours, and so it is really hard to trust in that, and to fully step off of that ledge because you're just worried. You're like, I don't know. It's like, what if I fail? Or I don't know what we convince ourselves of. Like our world is just going to spontaneously combust if we don't have a set job, I don't know. It's so wild. Carolyn, how are you feeling? Oh, go ahead, Kristen.
Yeah, go ahead, Kristen.
I was just going to say the failure vulnerability piece is like, has been a lot, like in my own world, like calling my attention of like how scared I am to be vulnerable, how scared I am to fail, and how much that's holding me back from like what I'm truly here to do. And like really the service that I'm here to provide the world.
Yeah, I feel like this whole the universe brought us together because I just quit recently and finally faced the fear of being like I can see that I'm in this bubble and I know that if I just trust myself, like my tarot reading stuff is starting to pick up and like I think I can trust myself that I can make the same amount of money I would be at Trader Joe's doing that, but way less time and way happier and with more energy to do other things that I love and build other projects. So it was hard because I mean, the friends that you make there, the relationships, there's just this whole web of like support there, but you're also kind of stuck in that web at the same time, so to like kind of untangle myself has been like when I went in today, I went to bring actually a thank you card to one of my coworkers who was so kind and contributed to one of my like, early fundraising for the SIP stuff. And so I just made a thank you card and I went to bring it and the refrigeration was out and it was just one of those. And I had just gotten out from reading cards in the office with my new job. And I walk in and people are like, oh, you look nice. And I'm like, yeah, I just got off of work. And I just kind of looked around and it was just like, I made the right choice, because like otherwise I'd be in this store wandering around trying to figure out what to do with myself because the refrigeration is out for like the 4th day in a row, and it just felt like one of those moments like, this place served the purpose that it needed to, and you can be so grateful for the connections you made and the time that you were here and the money you were like able to make here. And then, boom, like now you're moving into the next level. And today was a moment that I was just like, I made the right decision. And sometimes I feel like we just need that little, and Kristen, I hope that that's,
I love hearing you
resonating.
Say that. Like, cause like, it's been one of my big gratitudes, like of like not having to deal with a lot. Cause the web is a great word to use to describe. It's just sticky. And then like you're in it and you're trapped in it and you wraps around you. And it just like, and then it starts to feel safe and comfortable. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a scary leap to take. And honestly, you were one of my inspirations, because I remember when you left, you were like, yeah, like I'm going to be doing my healing stuff. And I was like, huh, that'll be me someday. That'll be me someday. And here we are.
Right?
So.
I love that. Yay.
Oh, I'm so glad. I know my mom just said in the chat too, this is exactly what she needs to hear right now too, because I know she's been working at this restaurant like since I was like, I remember being a kid, you know, hanging out in this back bar room, you know, eating hot dogs and watching SpongeBob on this big screen that they had. She's working at this restaurant for a long, long time. And after the pandemic, and even towards the end there, she just was not happy at all to go in there, and just the people were really weighing heavy on her and just all the situations. But you know, she stayed, and obviously she has kids and she has a house and all of these other things. And she finally decided to leave there, you know, during the pandemic. And now I know she's kind of, I just got off the phone with her. I was talking to her while I was walking. And so yeah, I'm really glad you were here for this too, Mom. Yay.
Mom.
Mom. Okay, so we're going to do some journaling now. And I'm so glad. I was worried that we weren't going to have enough time, but I think we will. So I have four prompts for us. And then I'm going to say them out loud and then leave them in the chat. And then I'll give us maybe 4 or 5 minutes for them, because they are a little bit meaty. So, and then they're going to lead us into getting the transmissions that we need for our releasing ceremony. So the first one, bloop, into the chat. What do I truly aspire to in my relationships, career, health, and friendships? So, oops, my journal's upside down. What do I truly aspire to in my relationships, career, health, and friendships? So I'll give us a few moments for that one here now. Okay, maybe take about 30 more seconds here. Okay. And you're always more than welcome if you need to kind of redo this, maybe in a more private space, or if you ever need more time. That's usually why I like to plan these on the day before the full moon, so then you have the day of the full moon if you would like to, do ritual in private. So you can always come back if you need to. So second one is kind of a twofer. How am I blocking myself from reaching these ambitions? Where am I staying in my comfort zone out of fear? How am I blocking myself from reaching these ambitions? And where am I staying in my comfort zone out of fear? Okay, we take 30 more seconds. The next one. Oops, here we go. Why am I in these comfort zones? What are the stories, limiting beliefs,
or perceived truths that keep me here? Why am I in these comfort zones? This is where you really get to ask yourself, like, is that true? You think, oh, I can't do this because X, Y, and Z. Okay, well, is that really true? Okay, take about 30 more seconds. Okay, and then last one here. What would I be if I had none of these boundaries? What or maybe who would I be if I had none of these boundaries? Okay. So start to wrap up here for yourself. Whew. And come up for air. You close your eyes, take a deep breath. Let some of that integrate. Usually when people ask me for sort of quick wins or first steps in self-care and self-development, journaling is usually the first place that I turn them, because it really does act like this mirror that you just hold up to yourself, where you have a direct conversation with yourself and what's going on in your head and your heart. And it's a really, really powerful practice. So thanks, guys, for sharing it with me. Do we feel like sharing anything of what we wrote? I know it's probably deeply personal, so don't feel the need to. But if you do, feel free.
One thing
Otherwise,
that, oh, sorry, go ahead, Kristen.
oh no, that was me. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say one thing that resonated that you had said that also came up for me was in response to the second journal prompt, how am I blocking myself from reaching these ambitions? Where am I staying in my comfort zone out of fear? I really resonate with that lack mindset of, like just this fear of like, oh, well, just what if I can't do it? And well, and I don't know. And also it's helped me just kind of really drill down, like, what is lack and what is it that I'm lacking exactly? And then once I figure that out, it's like, well, am I really lacking if I don't have that? Maybe there are other things in my life that would kind of naturally take the place of what seems like a lack, but really isn't when I look more closely at it, which probably sounds silly. It makes more sense in my head. Yeah.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. Yeah, absolutely. Because then I think too, especially nowadays, we're bred that feeling of lack into us because that's the way that people sell us shit. Is they teach you that if you don't have enough as you are, and that you need some sort of outer thing to make you complete and make you happy. So especially us, growing up in the relatively modern age, we've never not had that outside stimulus. So it's really hard to let go of and to retrain ourselves what actually is and isn't, lack in your life. And there's a lot less of it than I think we're bred to believe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point too, that we're kind of like fed this mindset from the beginning. I mean, we really can't avoid it, really. I mean, it's in advertising all around us. It's just, I mean, it was sort of, I guess, an inherent development of capitalism, right? Like, it's just kind of a natural byproduct of adopting the system. For it to kind of flourish and grow, you have to convince people that they don't have a thing that someone else has that they can then exchange, money or services or goods to acquire. But yeah, but it really is like, it's so strange because like that feeling of lack, if anything, if we go back, hundreds, thousands of years, like that lack would have been more like survival oriented. Whereas now, because so many of our survival needs are often met, this like feeling of lack then comes from these other areas that really just aren't, like, they're not really a lack if we don't have them. It was just sort of fed to us through all these like subliminal messages and media and all these things. So that's a really good point. That just kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Yeah, I spent these past 3-4 days in the woods with a bunch of hippies who are just like, paradigm shift, down with capitalism. Right now I'm just like a channel. But one thing too that, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, one, yes, all of that, like, yes, and also like I feel like, so like what was coming through a lot with that like third question, or like kind of aha from that, is like how much I still hold my own like body fear that I'm gonna be like like some like witch trial or something's gonna happen if I like share truth and like speak truth, that like I'm gonna be heard, I'm gonna be unsafe, and like, yes, like, okay, like verbal attack could happen on internet. That's totally a thing. And also like judging relative safety, there's also this like, I'm going to find more people that I love and can connect with and like who love and will, who love me when I'm seen. And that kind of like turning that fear around where it's like, so stay safe, be hidden kind of thing, which like understandably, like, yeah, that kept like a lot of people safe for a long time, but also it's like, no, like what I crave most is the connection, and we only get that when we let ourselves be seen. So yeah, that was feeling really powerful.
Oh, good. Yeah, that third question really was the one that got me too, and I find, just those askings of why, like why I am the certain way that I am, for lack of a better description. But I'm glad that came through for you on that one too, because I was also, kind of diving into why I feel like I won't have enough, or why I'm afraid to quit, these day jobs and step fully into this space that I've created, because I love it and this is what I want to do all the time. But I'm realizing, that I am afraid of fear of lack. And I think what it boils down to is I realize I'm afraid that I won't be safe. And I think it's because I've taught myself for so long in my life that I have to do everything for myself, and that I can't let anything or anyone else take care of me. I have to just kind of do it all on my own. And letting go of that, control in a sense, allowing yourself to trust my partner and the universe in a way, and just saying that I don't have to, tooth and nail create everything, that I want. I'm allowed to kind of step back and lean away from that a little bit, and kind of trust. So that was a big come through for me too. Yay.
And I see that as capitalism too. Like,
Yeah.
Like do it all yourself. And then we have to like do these jobs because no one can do it all themselves. Like,
Yeah, for sure. It's funny. I was talking to my mom about this too the other day. Her and I are both, and I feel like that's something that I've kind of learned from her a lot too, because my mom is the strongest person I think that I know. And she also has a very, kind of like do it yourself mindset. And I saw her doing that grow up, and I emulated that, and I obviously, as a woman, most of the time you want to be your mom. I want to be this strong, badass woman that doesn't need anyone else in a way. But her and I were kind of talking the other day that it's okay sometimes to like nurture that feminine aspect a little bit, that kind of steps back and allows yourself to receive and just be a little bit, more fluid and not so masculine and hands-on, and kind of do it for yourself. It's great that we've strengthened that part of ourselves as much as we have. Obviously, it, allowed me to create this space and do all the things that I do, but then now it's time to nurture, that feminine side a little bit too. I think, yeah, there's a lot going on all the time.
That's such a beautiful point, and it just made me think. So Capricorn and Cancer, Earth and Water, the cardinal signs. Earth and Water are also the feminine elementals, right? So it feels like if the natural inclination of Capricorn and Cancer can be to kind of go like to kind of hide out, or like especially with the Capricorn energy, like this like doing kind of thing, that maybe this is like a subtle reminder, like what you just said was like, be more open to the receptivity. That's how we balance out the energies of like Capricorn going to Capricorn, and like not having enough of the receptivity, the stepping back, like you were saying, like sometimes we're going too fast. So we're like chasing our own, tail kind of thing. Like we just need to like stop and realize, oh, so much of the abundance is right here already. So yeah, that was a good point. And it just like triggered that, or like, yes, and these are the feminine elementals. So that's so interesting that vibe is here, but can so easily be lost within the Capricorn energy,
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that too. Yeah, water and earth, very, feminine and masculine. I've been getting so into that ever since, honestly. The recording is in the membership. We did a class. Her name's Madam Bickham. She's a tantra goddess, and she's absolutely amazing. She did a course for us about embodying and honoring the divine feminine. And ever since that class with her, I've been getting super into this. And there's another class in there that's all about balancing the hormones and honoring your menstrual cycle and the energies that go along with your menstrual cycle. And so I'm going to dive into that one a little bit deeper too. So this is like my my wormhole that I'm in right now, is this feminine and masculine energy kind of pulling between the two. Okay, so let's release some shit. We dug it all up. Now let's let it go. So if you have your fireproof bowl, or just a bowl for your paper scraps, and then your candle or lighter. So we're going to write our things to release. And then we're going to create new supportive affirmations. So if you don't want to tear a page out of the journal that you just used, then go ahead and grab a scrap piece of paper that you're okay with tearing up. And then we're going to write a release list. So you can put release list at the top if you like. Or maybe you know the fancy runes and sigils for release. I don't off the top of my head, but maybe you do. And so what we're going to do is write at least 5. You don't have to, well, I don't know. I hate to put a number on it. Suggested 5. It could be less or more than that. Statements or limiting beliefs that are representing this kind of old self that we're letting go of this evening, that kind of tie into those comfort zones, those fears that we just journaled about. Writing out 5 statements or limiting beliefs that represent that space that we just tapped into. The pen's dying right now, of course. And then as you're finishing up your 5, just take a moment after you're done and kind of go back and look them over. And just reaffirming to yourself that these are not truths. That we are allowing ourselves the space to let these go. Even once you can take a few deep breaths. Inhale through the nose. Sigh it out, let it go. So however you're releasing, go ahead and fold up the paper, and then you can either tear it or burn it. And just allow yourself to be really present with that release, whichever one you're choosing. I'm going to pray that my smoke alarm doesn't go off. So from here, it's suggested to take the ashes and either bury them, release them into a body of water or through the wind. So you can allow yourself to kind of fully release them and let them go. You may close the eyes, take one more deep breath. Let it go. Yes. You are released. You are free. You do not need any of those falsities anymore. They are not true to you. They are not true to your dharma, to your heart, to your purpose. You have permission to step outside and away. We'll gently come back to your journal one more time. Now we're going to create some new supportive affirmations for ourselves that will carry you forward. So the sort of bookend of today will be the within the next 6 months to the new moon in Capricorn. But just whatever affirmations kind of come up that are calling to you here. Affirmations are positive statements. They're in the present tense. So it's not I want or I will. It is I am and I do. These are inspiring and embodied statements that will step you closer into that last journal question that we did. Who you would be if you had none of those boundaries. What are some statements that sort of embody that space? So I'd like if we could share maybe one of our affirmations that we came up with, because speaking it aloud holds so much power. And Mama, if you want, you can type yours into the chat. Oh gosh. Well, I would hate to make us pick just one. You're free to say, well, since we're just speaking them, we can say all of them. Mom, you don't have to type all of yours. You can type one if you want. So I ended up with 4. The first one is that I am open and trusting that I am supported through my journey. The second one is that I create for the glory of Shakti and myself, not for outer validation. I release my fears of lack, for I am innately and divinely abundant. And I will always have enough, and I will always be safe. Kristen, what did you have?
So I wrote mine as when statements, because the other ones I wrote as if statements. So I was like, can I do this? So when I speak my truth, I will activate truth in others and empower them to do the same. When I do my heart-centered, soul-led work, all beings will thrive and the abundant universe will provide. When I show up as me, I will be loved and adored. And when I'm seen as my full self, I will gain community and deeper sense of belonging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love your if when. That's beautiful.
Yeah, because most of my fears were like, if this happens, then this will happen.
I added a couple that y'all had inspired. That's why I was still writing. I was like, oh no, that's good. I need to work on that one the next 6 months. I am open to the many varied channels of abundance in my life. I am connected with like-minded and like-hearted individuals with whom I have entered loving and supportive relationships. I am not afraid to or unworthy of asking for help. I am capable and reliable and make consistent progress toward the realistic and aligned goals I have set for my personal and professional growth. That's a mouthful. It's not quite an affirmation. But the spirit is there. I am loved, supported, and guided by myself, my spirit guides, and the balanced relationships in my life. And the ones that y'all inspired, where I trust myself and my intuition. I embody my creative passions in my words, actions, and decisions. And I speak my truth and encourage others to do the same. So thank you for those.
Thank you. Yay. These are always nice too. I feel like I'm just giving you homework. Go dump your ashes in a river and then take your affirmations and either you can put them on a post-it note and put them up in your mirror, or if you are a creative being, also you can kind of paint or draw something fun and colorful and put it up on your altar if you like. So that is our soul work for this evening. If you'd like, we'll close together here. Come to your seat one final time. Close your eyes and place your hand onto your heart. Take a deep breath when you're ready. Ground back into your body. Come back to your breath. And now we are done with harm to none. We inhale the power of our magical hour. Stay if you will, go if you must. With my vocal sound, our circle is down. Jai, thank you all. I feel like I just chugged a cup of coffee. Thank you all so much. Those of you that are here in this virtual space, and those that are watching later too, thank you for your work and your space here. I have to say now that if you are not already and you feel called to join us in the Members Club, I would obviously be ecstatic to have you. We do these monthly, and then there are also all of the recorded workshops that are in there. I mentioned a few already from Madam Bickham and also Carolyn, another Carolyn, that does the cycle thinking and feminine embodiment. There's tons of other workshops. There's lessons from Kristen, who's done some live Reiki sessions for us, and meditations, lots of yoga classes, just lots of really awesome stuff that's in there in all of these live community events and spaces. So if you feel called to join us, I would absolutely love you. Otherwise, have a blessed full moon. If you ever have any questions about anything, I'm always on Instagram or an email away. And yeah, I love you. Thank you.